Sure, I'm Cory Doctorow, and I'm a science fiction novelist and an activist, and a journalist, and I help edit a website called Boing Boing. And as to what I hope for the future, it's like now, only more so, but with less of the bad stuff. How about that? Well, I mean, there's the usual list, right? Environmental catastrophe and peak resources and the end of antibiotics and social rupture resulting from increased automation without fair distribution of the dividends from those automations, leading to wider wealth gaps, widespread state-level corruption, corporatism. All of those things keep me up at night. And then this idea of the war on general-purpose computers is one that I've written about a lot, which is the idea that given that everything involves computers today and everything tomorrow will require computers, there's an increasing cohort of people who see computers as a nexus for solving their problems. The reasoning goes basically, this problem would go away if computers couldn't run a certain program, or if they couldn't execute a certain instruction. I know what I'll do. I'll lobby the state to make executing that instruction or running that program illegal. So I want a computer that can't infringe copyright, or I want a computer that can't be used to plot terrorism. And we don't really have a model for that. We don't have a model for creating a computer that can run every program except for the one that pisses you off. Our closest approximation is a computer that can run every program but has some spyware on it that stops you from running programs that you're not supposed to, that lurks in the background watching what you do. And for that program to work, the operating system, the computer, have to be designed to hide its existence from you, because if you can terminate that program or delete the files associated with that program, then you could do what you're not supposed to. And so by designing computers that effectively have moats in their eye, that have invisibility cloaks that programs can run under, you design computers that are really incredibly hostile to their owners, computers where if someone who's untrustworthy or doesn't have that user's best interest at heart can gain control of them, they can use it to attack the user in ways that the user can't detect or terminate. And given that the definition of computer is expanding from merely something that you type at all day on your desk, or even something you carry around in your pocket, to things that are inside your body like defibrillators or hearing aids, things that you put your body into like cars or buildings, it becomes quite a bad thing to imagine that all of these devices will be designed effectively to attack their owners in a way that's undetectable and unstoppable. And given that there's going to be more and more people who see computers as a way of solving their problems, or rather breaking computers as a way of solving their problems, I think this is a problem that's not going to go away. In fact, it's going to get worse. And then at a more attenuated level, I worry that even if we win this battle, even if we, as a society and as an economy and as technical practitioners, design computers so that they're unambiguously and perfectly controllable by their owners, that there's a second layer of problems, which are computers that are designed to be controlled by their owners, but whose users, who may not be their owners, can't detect or interdict instructions that are hostile to their interests. And I worry about, for example, people leasing their own legs, or people who are amputees leasing legs, or people who have gone blind leasing their eyes, where they're not the owner of that computer, but it's part of their body. People whose computers, who live in computers that don't belong to them, tenants, or parts of their houses that are owned by remote entities like power companies. And even if those computers are designed to be owned by or controlled by their owners, they have the potential to inflict enormous harm on their mere users. And it creates a kind of tendency in the world, a kind of permanent tendency where you are never able to exercise full control over things that are very intimate to you, like your body and the place it resides in. We are all of us only temporarily able-bodied. You know, there is no such thing as disability. There is only the sort of great normalized curve of ability, and we traverse it over our lives, and we traverse it from a relative helplessness of infancy, and some of us go fairly high up the curve of robustness during our lives through our adulthood. But if we live long enough, we all go back to a relative helplessness, and many of us have temporary dips through helplessness in our lives after surgery or injury or illness. And so it's not only conceivable, it's really inevitable that we will, all of us, experience periods of greater or lesser disability in our lives. And when those periods arise, some of the equipment necessary to remediate that disability will be things that where it will either be impractical or impossible to afford buying them, or merely infeasible. Why would you own something that you only need for a brief period? You know, if you need artificial eyes after a surgery but not permanently, why would you undergo the expenditure of a pair of your own artificial eyes? So if we have this kind of lease purchase or lend-lease arrangement with things that are very intimate to us, our bodies, the environments our bodies are in, you know, it's incredibly dangerous to imagine that other people will be able to execute code on those that we're not able to override. If nothing else, imagine the way that this magnifies the gap between the wealthy and the poor. You know, what does it mean if you have a dispute with a creditor, and as a result of that dispute, they can simply repossess your legs as a way of winning the dispute, or your eyes, or parts of your brain even. You know, there's already therapies where implants are used to use magnets to change your brain that are used for people with incurable depression, and people where those magnets are repossessed might become suicidal, right? Imagine the negotiating leverage of someone who can make you suicidal if you disagree with them, and how that magnifies existing power imbalances. So that's one of the things I do worry about, and particularly because I think that gives rise to a class of thorny computational problems about how you make users of computers safe from their owners without making the owners of the computers vulnerable to their users, that I don't think we have a theoretical basis for understanding yet. Although I also think it's very early days in terms of the theory, and it may be that the gaps in that theory are due to a lack of attention rather than any kind of inherent intractability.